Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today we are going to talk about something very important, happiness. Because the truth is simple. Happiness is not something you find outside. It is something you protect inside. But here is the problem. Most people don't lose happiness because life is hard. They lose it because of their habits. Small habits, daily thoughts, repeated patterns, slowly destroy their peace. In this video, we are going to explore 6 habits that destroy happiness. If you remove these habits, your mindset will change. Your peace will grow, and your life will feel lighter. So watch till the end, because this can change how you feel every single day. Let's begin. Lesson 1. Overthinking. The first habit that destroys happiness is overthinking. Now understand this clearly. Thinking is meant to guide you, not to trap you. But when thinking turns into overthinking, it starts working against you. Now let's go deeper. Most people don't realize how often they repeat the same thoughts. They go over the same problem again and again, trying to find the perfect answer. What if I make a mistake? What if this goes wrong? What if I'm not ready? These thoughts keep running in the background of your mind all day. Now imagine this. You are trying to move forward, but your mind keeps pulling you back into the same loop. What happens? You feel confused, you feel tired, and you start losing your peace. Now here is something important. Overthinking creates problems that don't even exist. It turns small situations into big ones. It makes simple decisions feel complicated. Now imagine this. You have a small choice to make, but instead of deciding, you keep thinking about every possible outcome. What happens? You delay, you hesitate, and slowly your confidence starts to weaken. Now here is something powerful. The more you think without acting, the more stuck you feel. Now imagine the opposite. You give yourself a moment to think, then you decide, and then you act. What happens? Your mind becomes lighter, your stress reduces, and you feel more in control. Now let's go even deeper. Overthinking is often connected to fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of uncertainty. But here is the truth. You cannot think your way out of every risk. Life will always have uncertainty. Now imagine this. Instead of trying to control everything, you accept that not everything will be perfect. What happens? You feel relaxed, your mind slows down, and your energy becomes stable. Now here is something very important. Overthinking takes you away from the present moment. You are either thinking about the past or worrying about the future. Now imagine this. Your body is here, but your mind is somewhere else. What happens? You miss the peace that exists right now. Now imagine the opposite. You bring your attention back to what you are doing. You stop unnecessary thinking. What happens? You feel calm, you feel focused, and your happiness begins to grow. Now here's the powerful shift. You don't need endless thinking, you need clear thinking followed by action, because action breaks the cycle. Even a small step forward can bring more clarity than hours of thinking. Now imagine this. You stop waiting for perfect certainty and you take one simple step. What happens? You learn, you grow, and you move ahead. Now here is something powerful to remember. Your mind is there to support you, not to control you. So remember this line. Overthinking steals your peace, but action brings it back. Lesson 2. Complaining. The second habit that destroys happiness is complaining. Now understand this clearly. Complaining does not change your situation, it only makes it feel heavier. Now let's go deeper. Most people complain without even realizing it. They complain about their routine, about other people, about things not going their way. It becomes a daily pattern, a natural reaction. Now imagine this. Every time something goes wrong, your first response is to complain. What happens? Your focus shifts to what is missing, what is unfair, what is not working. Slowly, your mind starts seeing more problems than possibilities. Now here is something very important. Your mind follows your focus. If you train it to see problems, it will find more problems. If you train it to look for solutions, it will start finding ways forward. Now imagine this. You wake up and immediately think about everything that is wrong. What happens? Your mood drops, your energy feels low, and your whole day feels heavy before it even begins. Now imagine the opposite. You notice a problem, but instead of complaining, you pause and ask yourself, what can I do about this? What can I improve? What is in my control? What happens? Your thinking changes, your energy shifts, and you start moving forward instead of staying stuck. Now here is something powerful. Complaining gives you a temporary release, but it takes away your long-term peace. It feels like you are expressing something, but in reality, you are feeding negativity inside your mind. Now imagine this. You keep repeating the same complaints every day. What happens? Nothing changes, but your frustration keeps growing. Now let's go even deeper. Complaining also affects your mindset because it creates a habit of blaming. You start blaming situations, people, and circumstances instead of taking responsibility. Now imagine this. You believe everything is against you. What happens? You feel powerless, like you have no control over your life. Now imagine the opposite. You take responsibility, even for small things. You accept what you cannot change and work on what you can. What happens? You feel stronger, more in control, and more confident. Now here is something very important. You cannot control everything in life, but you can control your response to it. And your response decides your happiness. Now imagine this. Instead of saying, why is this happening to me, you say, what can I learn from this? What happens? Your perspective changes, and your problems start becoming lessons. Now here is the powerful shift. Complaining focuses on the past and what went wrong, but action focuses on the future and what can improve. Now imagine this. You stop repeating your complaints and start taking small actions. What happens? Your life slowly begins to change. Your confidence grows and your stress reduces. Now here is something powerful to remember. Every moment you spend complaining is a moment you lose to grow. So choose wisely. Focus on solutions, not problems. Take responsibility, not excuses. Move forward, not backward. So remember this line. Complaining keeps you stuck, but action moves you ahead. Lesson 3. Negative self-talk. The third habit that destroys happiness is negative self-talk. Now, understand this clearly. The way you speak to yourself is the foundation of how you feel, how you act, and how you see your life. Now let's go deeper. Most people don't even notice their inner voice because it feels normal. But if you listen carefully, you will hear it. Small sentences repeated every day. I am not good enough. I can't do this. I always fail. These words may seem simple, but they slowly shape your identity. Now imagine this. You repeat these thoughts again and again. What happens? Your confidence drops, your energy becomes low, and you start believing these thoughts as truth. Now, here is something very important. Your mind does not question what you tell it repeatedly, it accepts it. So, if you keep telling yourself negative things, your mind builds a negative reality around you. Now imagine this. You face a new opportunity, but your inner voice says, you are not ready. What happens? You step back, you hesitate, and you miss that opportunity. Now, here is something powerful. Negative self-talk does not just affect your thoughts, it affects your actions. And your actions create your results. Now imagine the opposite. You change your inner voice. You say, I can improve. I will try again. I am learning. What happens? Your mindset becomes stronger, your fear reduces, and you start taking action even if you are not perfect. Now let's go even deeper. Negative self-talk often comes from past experiences. Maybe you failed once. Maybe someone criticized you. Maybe you compared yourself with others. And slowly, those experiences turned into beliefs. But here is the truth. Your past does not define your future unless you repeat it in your mind every day. Now imagine this. Instead of holding on to old negative beliefs, you choose new ones. You choose growth, you choose learning, you choose progress. What happens? Your mind starts working for you instead of against you. Now here is something very important. You talk to yourself more than anyone else in the world. So your inner voice has the strongest influence on your life. Now imagine this. Your inner voice supports you like a good friend. It encourages you when things are hard. It reminds you of your strengths. What happens? You feel confident, you feel calm, and your happiness begins to grow. Now here is the powerful shift. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be supportive to yourself. Because growth comes from encouragement, not from constant criticism. Now imagine this. Every time you make a mistake, instead of saying, I am useless, you say, I learned something. What happens? Your perspective changes and failure becomes part of your progress. Now here is something powerful to remember. The words you say to yourself are shaping your future every single day. So choose them carefully. Speak with strength, speak with belief, and speak with hope. Because in the end, your inner voice can either lift you up or pull you down. So remember this line. Your inner voice can build you or break you. Choose wisely. Lesson 4. Procrastination. The fourth habit that destroys happiness is procrastination. Now understand this clearly. Procrastination is not just delaying a task, it is delaying your growth, your success, and your peace of mind. Now let's go deeper. Most people don't see procrastination as a serious problem. They think it is just waiting for the right time, the right mood, or the right motivation. But in reality, it slowly takes away progress from your life. Now imagine this. You have something important to do, something that can improve your life, but you keep saying, I will do it later. What happens? That later keeps moving forward and the task remains unfinished. Now here is something very important. Every time you delay, the task becomes heavier in your mind. It feels bigger, more difficult, and more stressful. Now imagine this. You keep avoiding the same task again and again. What happens? Your stress increases, your mind feels crowded, and you start feeling guilty for not taking action. Now here is something powerful. The problem is not the task itself. The problem is the moment of starting. Because once you begin, things become easier. Now imagine the opposite. You stop waiting for the perfect moment and you take one small step. What happens? The pressure reduces immediately. Your mind feels lighter and you gain a sense of control. Now let's go even deeper. Procrastination often comes from fear. Fear of failure, fear of doing something wrong, or even fear of success. So instead of facing that fear, you choose to delay. But here's the truth. Avoiding something does not remove it. It only makes it stronger in your mind. Now imagine this. You face the task, even if you feel unsure, and you start anyway. What happens? Your fear begins to shrink and your confidence starts to grow. Now here is something very important. Procrastination also breaks your trust in yourself. Every time you say, I will do it, and you don't do it, you send a message to your mind that your words don't matter. Now imagine the opposite. You act on your decisions, even in small ways. What happens? You start trusting yourself again, and that trust builds real confidence. Now here is the powerful shift. Action creates momentum. Once you start, it becomes easier to continue. Even a small step creates movement, and movement creates progress. Now imagine this. Instead of waiting for motivation, you take action first. What happens? Motivation follows your action, not the other way around. Now here is something powerful to remember. You don't need to do everything at once, you just need to begin. Small actions done consistently can change your entire life. So stop waiting, stop delaying, and stop looking for the perfect time. The perfect time is now. because every moment you wait is a moment you lose. So remember this line: start small, but start now. Lesson 5. Seeking validation. The fifth habit that destroys happiness is seeking validation. Now understand this clearly. When your happiness depends on other people's approval, you give them control over your emotions. Now let's go deeper. Most people want to be liked, accepted, and appreciated. This is natural, but the problem begins when you start depending on it. When every decision you make is influenced by what others will think. Now imagine this. You want to do something, but before acting, you think, what will people say? What happens? You hesitate, you change your choice, and slowly, you stop being yourself. Now here is something very important. The more you try to please everyone, the more you lose your true identity. Now imagine this. You keep adjusting your behavior just to fit in, just to get approval. What happens? You feel tired, you feel confused, and deep inside you feel empty because you are not living your own life. Now here is something powerful. No matter how hard you try, not everyone will approve of you. People have different opinions, different expectations, and different perspectives. So chasing approval is an endless cycle. Now imagine this. You finally get someone's approval. You feel good for a moment. But then someone else disagrees. What happens? Your mood changes again. Your happiness goes up and down based on others. Now here's the truth. This is not real confidence. This is emotional dependence. Now imagine the opposite. You stop looking outside for approval and start looking inside for acceptance. You trust your decisions. You respect your values. What happens? You feel stable, you feel calm, and your happiness becomes consistent. Now let's go even deeper. Seeking validation also creates fear of judgment. You become afraid to express your ideas, afraid to try new things, afraid to make mistakes. Now imagine this. You want to grow, but you hold yourself back because of others' opinions. What happens? You stay in the same place while your potential remains unused. Now imagine the opposite. You accept that people will always have opinions, but you choose to move forward anyway. What happens? You grow, you learn, and you build real confidence. Now here is something very important. Real confidence does not come from being praised by others. It comes from trusting yourself even when others don't. Now imagine this. You make decisions based on your values, not on approval. What happens? You feel free, you feel strong, and your life becomes more authentic. Now here is the powerful shift. Instead of asking, do people like me? Start asking, do I respect myself? Because self-respect creates inner peace. Now imagine this. You accept who you are, you work on improving yourself, and you don't depend on others to feel worthy. What happens? Your happiness becomes stable, and your mind becomes peaceful. Now here is something powerful to remember. Approval from others is temporary, but respect for yourself is permanent. So stop chasing validation, stop trying to please everyone, and stop losing yourself for acceptance. Trust yourself, believe in your path, and stand by your choices. Because in the end, your life is yours to live. So remember this line. You don't need everyone's approval, you need your own respect. Lesson 6. Comparison. The sixth and final habit that destroys happiness is comparison. Now understand this clearly. Comparison steals your happiness not because others are better, but because you stop valuing yourself. Now let's go deeper. Most people compare their lives with others without even realizing it. They look at someone's success, someone's lifestyle, someone's achievements, and they think, they are better. I am behind. Now imagine this. Every day you measure your life against others. What happens? You start feeling insecure, you feel dissatisfied, and your confidence slowly disappears. Now here is something very important. When you compare, you focus on what you don't have instead of what you already have. And this creates a constant feeling of lack. Now imagine this. You keep looking at others' progress while ignoring your own journey. What happens? You lose motivation and forget how far you have already come. Now here is something powerful. Everyone has a different path, different timing, different struggles, and different opportunities. Now imagine this. You compare your beginning with someone else's success. What happens? You feel discouraged and think you are not doing enough. But here is the truth. You don't see the full story of others. You only see their best moments, their highlights, their results. You don't see their struggles, their failures, or the effort behind their success. Now imagine the opposite. You stop comparing your life and start focusing on your own progress. You look at where you were before and where you are now. What happens? You feel proud, you feel calm, and your confidence starts to grow. Now let's go even deeper. Comparison also creates jealousy, and jealousy destroys inner peace. When you feel jealous, your energy becomes negative and your focus shifts away from your own growth. Now imagine this. Instead of feeling jealous, you feel inspired by others. You learn from them, not compete with them. What happens? Your mindset becomes positive and your growth becomes faster. Now here is something very important. Your life is unique. Your journey is personal, and your timing is different from everyone else. Now imagine this. You accept your path and move at your own pace. What happens? You feel relaxed, you stay focused, and you enjoy the process. Now here is the powerful shift. Instead of asking, "Why am I not like them?" ask, "How can I become a better version of myself?" Now imagine this. Every day you improve a little, even in small ways. What happens? You move forward consistently and build real confidence. Now here is something powerful to remember. Growth comes from progress, not comparison. When you compare, you feel stuck. When you focus on yourself, you grow. So stop measuring your life by others' success. Stop losing your peace by looking outside. Focus on your own journey, your own goals, and your own improvement. Because your life is not a competition, it is a personal journey. And when you walk your own path with focus and patience, happiness naturally follows. So remember this line. Don't compare your life. Build your life. Final message. Now understand this clearly. Happiness is not something you find somewhere outside in the world. It is something you protect inside yourself every single day. Most people think they will be happy when life becomes easier, when problems disappear, or when everything goes their way. But the truth is different. Happiness is not controlled by perfect situations. It is controlled by your daily habits and your mindset. And most of the time, it is not life that destroys your happiness. It is your own patterns, your own thoughts, and your own reactions. The small things you repeat every day slowly shape how you feel. But here is the good news. You have the power to change it. You can break these habits. You can take control of your mind. You can choose a better way to live. You can stop overthinking and start trusting your decisions. You can stop complaining and start focusing on solutions. You can change the way you speak to yourself and build a stronger inner voice. You can stop delaying and start taking action, even if it is small. You can stop looking for approval and start believing in yourself. You can stop comparing and start focusing on your own journey. And when you begin to do these things, even slowly, you will notice a change. Your mind becomes calmer, your stress becomes lighter, your confidence grows, and your life starts to feel more peaceful and more meaningful. Now here is something very important. You don't need to change everything at once. You just need to start. One small step, one better thought, one positive action at a time. Because real change happens gradually. So from today, don't wait for happiness to come into your life. Create it through your actions. Protect it through your mindset. Build it through your habits every single day. And always remind yourself that you are in control of how you respond, how you think, and how you grow. If you found this message helpful, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear this today. And always remember this simple truth. Happiness is not outside. It begins inside you. See you in the next video.